Hi, everyone. Welcome back into Primetime TV Show. I'm one of your hosts today, Barbara Marville Kelly. We have a different show planned today with the times and with tax season. Are you all excited about it like I am? Well, I just happen to have a very special guest that can probably answer just about any question that you may have on your mind, now or even later. And it happens to be Mr. David Warman. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I am so happy that you agreed to come up from St. Petersburg to answer some of the questions that people have and to give us a little background. With 50 years experience, really?
Yes, really.
Wow, that's pretty exciting.
That's what happens when you get older.
But very young in the mind.
Right.
I just want to let everybody know what we're talking about here with David. I mean, David is a graduate of Rutgers University, your degree in finance and economics, master's in business administration, also a law degree from Yale University. He has a master's in taxation, New York University. Here's the part that is going to make you want to call right now. 25 years employment with the Internal Revenue Service through the United States. To me, that is golden because you know the ins and the outs, and I think you even told me that you're still writing code?
I have written a lot of the Internal Revenue Code, and I'm still providing guidance to the service.
That is amazing. So you've served as a revenue agent, revenue officer, and district and region IRS officer, served 10 years in Washington, D.C. at the IRS headquarters as deputy commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so impressed with this. 10 years employment with the United Parcel Service, district, regional, and corporate chief financial officer, 5 years employment with Merrill Lynch as finance and compliance director, and you now have many happy returns for accounting and tax services. Now, I want to know, why are you calling this many happy returns? Because it just rung a bell with me.
Really?
Yes.
Many of the returns that we do in our business come out with refunds.
Ah.
As a matter of fact, many people overpay their tax through the entire year, and then at the end of the year, they're getting money back. So they're happy, and the returns are processed and wind up with refunds.
I love it. I love it. In fact, in the title here, the S in returns is a $sign.
That's correct.
And I really wanted to get this information up front to you immediately, because if you're like me, I would love to know more about taxes. And I get this feeling, David, was when we sit down with you, it's not going to be one of those I'm wringing my hands and, biting my nails and things like that. You just lay it out, but through the year, you educate your clients as well, so that when that day comes, they're prepared, you're prepared, everybody's happy.
That's correct. It is a year-end process. It is not just 1 hour sitting down and cranking through the numbers. There's a lot of education that we provide to help people minimize their taxes and be more successful in their businesses.
Exactly. And education, we were just talking about how education is key, and it gives you the power to know more than what you knew before by sitting down with you. Some of the other other things that makes you different than an accountant out there that people go to and we just don't know, we're not trained like you? What are some of the other things that makes you stand above and beyond?
I think the number one factor is that I care. And most of my clients, many of whom have been with me for 35 and 40 years,
Really?
benefit from my experience, my knowledge, and we focus on them, each individual or couple. And one of the benefits that I provide to people who are utilizing my services is the year in which they get married, or the next year, depending upon when they get married, I do their tax return for free as a gift. And it helps them. The Internal Revenue Service code focuses on married people getting the best results. And so it's important to know, what are your benefits as single, what are your benefits as married, what are your benefits as head of household, all of the various qualifying factors that go into considering the tax rules that apply to each person or each couple.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So I was asking you just before, what's the difference between an accountant and a tax preparer?
Tax preparer is focused specifically on taxes. They can provide, and they do provide, guidance in terms of filling out a Form 1040, a 10 for personal taxes, Forms 1120 or 1065 or 1120S for business taxes, but their focus is on tax. An accountant is broader in scope. For example, we do forensic accounting. We have a number of clients who have hired us to check in on their business partners, to check on a spouse that may be going through divorce. And so we do forensic accounting. We do cost accounting to help business owners get a better grasp on how their labor costs are being applied and used. So a tax preparer is very narrow in scope. An accountant is a much broader approach.
See, I never really paid much attention.
Well,
And
most people don't.
And I wonder how many of you are out there. I mean, that's really a good question to ask. So how does the average person, and I mean, we've been paying taxes for how many years, right? How do we know that we're with someone that is truly qualified?
Ask for their credentials. Get a referral to somebody. Call the Better Business Bureau. If the person has credentials, they're going to post them. They're going to have the designated plaques. If they're simply going to someone who is novice or who's hanging at a shingle for 2 or 3 months a year, they're probably not the best course of action unless they know the person well and unless they're highly recommended.
I see what you're saying.
It is an occupation. It's a 12-month occupation.
Thank you. I was just going to ask you, this is like all year round.
Yes, it is.
It's not just right for tax season.
Right. And as we plan for this year and next year and future years, it is much broader than just, let's sit down and do your taxes. It's a way of thinking about life as part of planning. I have many clients who own real estate, and a lot of real estate, and the laws keep changing. And Congress is constantly updating and revising the laws that pertain to financial matters. You can't do that as an accountant in 2 to 3 to 4 months a year.
No.
There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of continuing education, and you can ask someone, how much continuing education do you get in a given year, and what are the subjects that you cover, so that you're staying current with what's going on. with the current scenario that we have right now with coronavirus,
Yes.
there are a number of tax strategies that one could and should employ. Probably the most important are to keep receipts. A lot of people don't know or don't think to keep receipts
True.
for expenses. They're not calculating their income, and I'm not suggesting that they have to obsess over it, but at the same time, being knowledgeable about what's coming in and what's going out, and how to save, and how to do a lot of other things that will benefit, are instrumental. There are a lot of restaurants that are in trouble right now
Yes. Yes.
because of the restrictions that are being placed and because they don't have enough in reserve to overcome what we're going through right now with the restrictions and the other problems where we can't have more than 10 people in a room at a time. And makes it very difficult.
Of course it does, and I think as long as I've been on this earth, I haven't seen anything like this. Have you?
I have not.
So this is going to be, I think this is going to really have people rethink moving forward, and I'm very positive that we'll be getting out of this. But you touched on the coronavirus thing, this whole crazy thing that's going on right now. Can you give us some tips on how you feel about this, on what people can be doing moving forward, or even right now, since that's what we're in the thick of everything, right? I would love to hear your spin on that.
Okay. I think people need to follow the edicts that have been passed out by the government entities and to adhere to the laws that are being promoted to help people avoid the virus or overcome the virus.
Okay.
It's important to do everything you can within reason to keep going. Not necessarily is it normal, it's somewhat abnormal, but to keep moving forward and to keep track of the expenses they're incurring. If their businesses are shut down, they're being let go for a short or a long period of time, it's important to keep track of that. It's important to know how much income they are losing. The government has proposed
Excuse me.
stimulus programs already that they plan to implement. They've extended the period of time that people have to file taxes from April 15th to July.
Have you ever seen that happen before?
That has happened during World War II.
Ooh.
It happened during the Vietnam War. It's happened other times of major national cataclysm and disaster. But for a virus, no, this is a first.
See, there you go.
This is a first.
Yeah. So gaining as much knowledge as we can is critical for all of us right now.
I agree. Absolutely true. So as we move forward and we get through this period of time, those people who have planned and who are planning now will do better than those who don't.
Right. And I think getting past that initial freak out fear mode, where we're not even thinking about planning or anything. It's like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we doing, right?
That's what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. So keeping your head about you and getting the knowledge with someone like yourself, which you do free complimentary consultations, right?
I do.
So that's good.
And I do that to encourage people to come, sit, talk, get to know what's in their best interest. I do this work because I love it.
I was going to ask you that. What made you ever go into it?
When I graduated from college, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, as I think a lot of people.
Sure.
And that was also during the time of the Vietnam War. So it was many years ago. And I thought that I wanted to go into finance. And I applied to work at the Internal Revenue Service. I was accepted. I did well there. and I did well for the country, and I did well for the government. And it was an interesting experience.
God bless you. Let's talk about that. How many of you have ever had an accountant, a tax preparer that worked for the IRS? Just ask yourself that. 27 years? 27, 25, 27?
25 years.
25 years. That's a whole lot of.
That's a lot of time.
To work with the IRS. So, pressing rewind, looking back at so much knowledge that you gained and how in your profession now, this is some really critical information, and you stay current, obviously, with continuing education.
Absolutely. I take maybe 40 or 50 continuing education hours a year and stay current with the information that people need in order to do well.
Is there anything you could share with our viewers today on things? Of course, we want them to sit down with you and personalize, customize their returns with you.
Right.
I'd like to really pique your interest even a little bit deeper as to what that can mean, because you know what's going on with the IRS.
Well, I get a lot of information from the IRS because I still have a strong relationship with them.
Okay.
And by knowing what laws are changing, and there are hundreds of changes in tax law every year, it's important to know how they apply, what you can do with them. Mm-hmm. For example, not everybody understands what the deductions are that they can legally, ethically, and morally take
Okay.
on preparing their taxes. And they don't think about business owners, in particular, have a lot of benefits. This country rewards business owners who are on top of the knowledge of what business opportunities there are, how to use the tax laws to their advantage, and I help my clients achieve that.
That is powerful. That's powerful.
I think it is.
Yeah, exactly, because you know what they're going to accept and what they're not. Can you give us some ideas from, say, last year to this year? Anything major that has changed, or even minor that people didn't know about?
In December of 2017, the tax law was overhauled for the first time in a major way in more than 30 years.
Really?
And so individuals who previously had standard deductions of $6,000 went to 12. People who were head of household went to $18,000 as a standard deduction, and married couples went to $24,000 and more with age. And then they're now implementing incremental adds to that, so that the standard deduction is much more attractive and helpful than it ever was before.
Huh.
Business owners need to know as much as they can about manufacturing or inventory or any number of tax laws that pertain to corporations, limited liability companies, and even sole proprietors. Mm-hmm. So it's important to stay current. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can do that.
That's right.
I do that and impart that knowledge to my clients.
Mm-hmm. So I know that we're approaching, and even though we have had that extension, what's your lead time to get in to see you? Do we need, like, if a client needs to get in to see you in a couple of weeks, is that doable?
That is doable.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so that's good to know.
Yes.
And you were down, I'm going to give everybody your address, which is 3346 49th Street North, and that is Suite 104 in St. Petersburg. And I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow with my hubby at 11 o'clock.
You are. I look forward to that meeting.
We do too, because you gave me the first word that made a difference today when I asked about, why are you doing this? And you said, and you care. You really care. don't feel like we're going to feel like we're on an assembly line, you know,
No, you're
in
not.
and out and in and out, and it shouldn't be that way. And I have to say that there's been times where we have felt like that.
I'm sorry that's happened.
I know, but now we're
It
here.
doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to, does it? And you don't have to be scared to come in and sit down and take care of the business at hand with somebody that knows what they're talking about. There's some questions that I have here that I want to ask you that I might be asking for you out there. What is a fair price to pay? I know that's on your mind, right? What is a fair price to pay a tax professional to prepare my taxes?
It depends.
That's a loaded question, right?
Yes, it is, but it's a very good question. It depends upon the complexity of the return.
Okay.
There are some returns where I sit down with a person and they have one W-2. Well, that's going to be very inexpensive, somewhere between $50 and $100.
Okay.
And I just completed a major corporation tax return yesterday, and that's over $1,000.
Sure.
So it varies anywhere between. Now, the Internal Revenue Service has recommended specific amounts that are within the purview of what's reasonable to charge. I adhere to those. I try to peg my fees to 70% of that number, because that way I can benefit people without them feeling that they are being hosed for money. It's more than about money. It's about what is good for the individual.
Exactly.
And that's my focus. I do this work because I want to, not because I have to.
And that is the game changer for people, when you're doing what you love and love what you do to give back to the community, and having 50 years, in case you're just tuning in, 50 years of experience with 25 years experience with the IRS as an agent and officer. And I tell you, I loved picking your brain when we first talked, and we've gotten to know each other just over the phone.
Yes, we have.
And I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. But I know this is another big question. When people feel that there's no hope for them and they owe so much money to the IRS, is there hope for those of you out there that maybe are in that position?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
I sit down with many of my clients and I review where are they in terms of debt to the IRS, and how is the debt achieved. There are many people who have not had good guidance over the years, or have not had the opportunity to understand exactly why they are where they are. And the Internal Revenue Service, for whatever we think of it, is not a heartless organization. I've worked out what are known as offers in compromise for many people. And some people who owe a lot of debt, we've gotten the amounts reduced considerably. There are a lot of television commercials. Some of them are absolutely valuable. Some of them are not as valuable. Businesses promoting, if you owe the IRS money, it's important to know which ones can help you and which ones are in it for themselves.
Okay.
It's key and critical to address your liabilities for tax on an ongoing basis. And for people to ignore it, that could be a problem. For people to address it, it's always better to address it than ignore it.
Exactly, because that's when you can get into trouble with, well, we don't even want to go there.
Right.
And that's why you talk about working with your clients throughout the year, preparation, knowledge.
Yes.
I know we're jumping around here, but we only have we started with 1 hour. We're getting down to about a half hour here pretty soon. But On deductions, what has changed? What do we need to know today? Like some deductions that maybe the average person is going to go, really? I can deduct that? You know what I mean?
There are a number of categories, particularly when we're dealing with business owners, where deductions are absolutely legitimate. Same is true with sole proprietors. Mileage, for example. If people drive miles to do the work, as long as they have gainful employment and gainful income, the IRS promotes taking deductions.
Okay.
One of the mantras that comes out of the Internal Revenue Service is that as an organization, they do not want people to pay 1 penny more than they're legally obligated to pay. And so there are numbers of booklets, there's numbers of forms that people can reference to get information about what is legitimate deduction, what is not a legitimate deduction, how does it apply, when does it not apply, and the rules change over time. The one rule that has not changed is the concept of reasonable and customary. And if you ever sit down in an IRS audit, the auditor is looking for what is reasonable, what is customary. The people who get into trouble with IRS audits are the ones who portray a level of greed and who try to overstate what they've actually spent or understate what their income has been. Because bank statements tell a lot. And it's important to know, to be honest, to be truthful, and to be forthcoming.
Sure.
When you're called to present how you arrived at your tax value.
So you were saying earlier, too, about keeping receipts and all of that. And I know
Yes.
that's very time consuming.
It doesn't have to be. There are very simple ways of doing it.
Exactly. So talk about that a little bit.
For a business owner primarily, whether it's sole proprietor or corporation or limited liability, whatever the organizational structure is, if you keep your receipts and once a week you sort them by category,
Okay.
it does not take a lot of time.
That's easy enough.
If you write checks rather than deal only in cash, your check register can be a very good guide.
Okay.
If you think ahead and make a plan for expenditures and then follow the plan and adjust notes to go with the plan, it's another very good way
Okay.
of keeping track of your income and your receipts.
Because this year goes by so fast.
Sure
and,
does.
And then when you try to hurry and scurry at the end of the year, what did I spend on gas and this and that and this and that? Whereas,
That's what makes it difficult.
yeah, exactly. Because you don't want to overstate.
Right.
You want to get as accurate as you possibly can. And I know for us, it's very close to the same year after year.
It can be, depending upon how consistent your business is.
Right. That's true. That's true. Okay, I have this beautiful brochure with all that you do: business accounting, financial consulting. You're also a certified financial planner, which to me, this is a great package. I mean, it's like a well-rounded package where someone can come to you, you can help them with their business accounting, financial consulting, and really help put together a plan so that maybe the next year they're going to be in a better position for themselves.
I work on a fee-only basis.
Okay.
So I'm not selling insurance, I'm not selling investments. I'm advising people what would work for them and what the best strategies could be. And we talk about it, and then we monitor it, and we adjust as necessary based upon what's happening in the world, in the viral community, in the economy. And most people who put some more time into planning spend a lot less time and a lot less money paying.
In the end,
Right.
of that year.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I've always focused on financial planning as a strategy to help people get where they want to go. It's not okay to have a 17-year-old child and then suddenly, oh my God, what am I going to do for college? Or I'm 65 and I haven't saved anything in retirement plans or in cash accounts or in anything. And now I want to retire. Well, not going to work quite as well. It's the ongoing, consistent approach to good financial strategies that benefits people in all walks of their financial life.
And that is so very well said, because you see a lot of senior citizens out there still working. We're living longer, right?
Right?
And
And they're not necessarily healthier.
exactly, some are, some aren't, and yet they still have to go out there and work.
Right.
Social Security maybe is what it is for them, so it requires them to go out, and I see them everywhere.
Right.
And to be able to have that planning in place, although some people will have a bad break in life, things didn't go the way they thought they had planned, but to be able to have the guidance from a professional like yourself, to me, sounds like the way to go for sure.
Thank you. I believe it is.
Yes, absolutely. So, on many happy returns, which I just smile when I say that, and the S on the end of returns is a dollar sign. How many of you have been happy with your tax advisor, your accountant, your tax preparer? Because you need to be calling David and sit down with him. He offers a complimentary consultation. And I'm going to go ahead and delve in a little bit deeper to some of the things that we haven't touched on that I know is in your mind and on your heart to share with our viewers today, because this will be going international, this show, and people can share with friends around. I mean, taking our mind off of what's going on out there with this virus, and to know that there is hope with someone like yourself with all these years of experience and with the IRS is, to me, pretty beneficial.
I'm glad you think so.
So let's talk about some things that you would like to share that I haven't brought up yet. Anything that comes to mind that you feel is really critical today for our viewers out there that are going, okay, tell me some more good stuff, David.
I would focus on their goals.
Okay.
Everybody should, in my humble opinion, have goals, whether they're college education goals or retirement planning goals or estate planning goals. And the ongoing process of planning for those goals and implementing the plans for those goals helps people have a much fuller life than if they don't plan and they just go day to day to day without thinking about, what do I want to do? When do I want to do it? It can be something as simple as buying a car.
Sure.
If people plan and they save and they buy a car and they don't incur interest rates in car payments, they're better off. If people that want to buy a home or several homes, and they think about what is it going to cost and how am I going to achieve that? Well, the ones who are mortgaged up to the hilt are not going to do as well as people who have 20%, 30%, 40% down.
Sure.
And so it's important to think about, what are the goals? What are the time elements for those goals?
That's true.
And when do they want to achieve those goals by date? College education is a big issue. Retirement planning is a big issue. And a lot of laws have changed over the years that make the estate planning less arduous for most, unless your asset worth is tens of millions of dollars or more. So it's important to think about what are the goals, what are the laws that pertain to current financial matters. A lot of people I've spoken with recently want a gift to their children who may not be as well off as the parents. And the children need some help along the way, and that can be done with gifting. And there's not always tax on gifting. As a matter of fact, there's no tax on gifting $15,000 a year to each person that you want to gift to.
Okay.
And it helps the children and the grandchildren by the parents and grandparents reducing their estate, reducing the amount of money that they're paying on taxes, helping their children and their grandchildren along the way. There's been a lot of interest in that recently.
Really? That is very interesting. David, you also, as a certified financial planner, you will work with debt consolidation, credit repair and relief, and like you were saying, with the college planning and all of that.
Right.
So in addition, you can get have David work with you with your taxes, but also, is it ever too late to get with you to do financial planning?
No.
No. No matter what.
May not be able to achieve all the plans that we want, but it's never too late to get started.
Bingo. That's what I wanted to hear. Because so many people out there, especially in times right now, I mean, they don't know which direction to go or what to do because everybody's so freaking out about this virus and everything. But to be able to get that head on your shoulders and think about some different goals, because with what has happened here, don't you feel that a lot of people has really gone to within like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? I mean, even our government is up in crazy arms as well. You know, how do people get their head together so that they can move forward once things kind of the dust settles, you know?
Well, whether it's meeting with me or meeting with any of my colleagues and meeting with people who are in the same profession that I'm in, there are expert people out there who have studied, who have worked, who have learned, who can help every person out there, regardless of their income, regardless of their financial situation. Nothing is hopeless. And every person has the opportunity to get good quality advice and good guidance to achieve more than they would without the help.
And that's so important. And not everybody is out there offering the same type of services, consultation, and advice that you are.
No, I'm blessed.
Yes,
and my
you are.
clients are blessed in that I do this, again, because I want to, not because I have to. I've got, I saved for years, and the Internal Revenue Service, the Office of Personnel Management, pays me a very nice pension. UPS pays me a very nice pension. You know, I hit 74 this year, and I'm still loving what I'm doing and having a good time and reaping the benefits of the work that I did for years. Plus, I saved on my own.
Good for you. You're a walking example of walking your talk.
I've walked my talk.
See,
yes, I have.
And you're giving back and enjoying it too.
Immensely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many rounds of golf that I could play in a given day, or so many rounds of tennis that I might try to engage in, or other things that I enjoy as hobbies. I do those.
That's good.
But I also have a very good practice, and I employ very good people. We all work together for a common goal.
Isn't that great? And you are a 7-day man, I understand. 6-7-day man?
I can be.
If you need it.
Different times of year.
Yes.
But not all year long.
No, gosh, no. You need to have that time
Right.
to spend with your family, and you have, did you tell me that you had 88 great-grandchildren?
I did say that. That's true.
Wow, you've got a close-knit
We've got a
family.
great family.
Yeah,
They've all grown up, and I've enjoyed watching that.
oh, that's good. And you're a family man as well. And, I had mentioned before the show, I love supporting family-owned businesses. I truly do. Well, my husband has a family-owned business as well.
Right.
We have a family-owned business, but it's just a little bit different. You don't feel that corporate push or that corporate pullback. You just feel more in tune to working with someone like yourself. That
I
is,
think that makes a lot of sense because
yeah.
people who are family oriented are generally more satisfied in life, and they achieve more, and they can offer more.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to get with you, and you're doing your personal income tax returns, estate and trust tax returns, corporate income tax, partnership, international income tax returns, other income tax work as requested. Like, what else would there be in your brochure with other tax forms?
Well, we do the business taxes throughout the year, the sales tax, the employment taxes. Anything when it comes down to taxes, and there are hundreds of types of taxes, and every state has its own unique tax structure. Every country has its own unique tax structure. And because I'm fluent in many languages, I also work with people from different countries, from Spain, from France, from Italy, because I speak those languages.
Wow, that's
And
impressive.
I know their tax structure, and we work to achieve what we have to, and we get it done.
And you get it done, absolutely. I'll tell you, I'm really impressed with, even more so now, doing the interview than when we were on the phone talking about this and that and this and that, because you are so well-rounded. Anybody can call you, and you will have a service for, I think, just about anybody.
I don't have all the answers, but I know where to find them all.
Bingo, bingo.
And with the experience that I have, and having worked with numerous different taxing authorities over the years, I either know the answer, I can find the answer through some research, or I can contact somebody in any tax authority and get the scoop.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes a big difference, too. Even though you don't know the answer, you know exactly where to get it. And I have a feeling that the taxes aren't going to be sitting on somebody's desk for a while because they can't get the answers. And that
That's
holds
correct.
everything up. That holds your refunds up, right?
Yeah, it holds your refunds up. It also causes people to have a lot of anxiety. That's not well spent on anxiety.
Exactly. So, gosh, there's so much here to talk about. We've covered about your business accounting as well. There was a question here I wanted to ask you in case you might have this question, is about software. It says here, isn't the software, for example, TurboTax, all that I need to use to prepare my taxes? So if somebody wanted to do that themselves, what's that all about?
TurboTax is a good program, and there are a lot of good programs. But if a person is not familiar with the tax rules, the tax laws, they can get into trouble using a software. The software has been written by programmers,
Okay.
not by tax authorities.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
And even though they promote that they have tax authorities at a person's disposal, the tax authority is not always as knowledgeable as she or he needs to be.
Oh.
So I'm not opposed to software for very basic, simple tax returns. It could be sufficient.
Okay.
With more complicated, without knowing the rules, the regulations, and the various alternative strategies, I find that many people who use tax software come to me for a second opinion,
Oh.
and we almost always do better for them than they did themselves
Really?
using the software.
See? So that leads me to my next question is, at what point does someone determine they can do their own taxes? Where is that line where, you know what, I don't want to do it myself, we'll come to you?
I think that varies by person,
You think
Barbara.
so? Yeah.
And some people are confident that they can knock it out themselves, and if they can, that's great. They hopefully will be right in their assessment, and they'll file a return that does not get reviewed and audited, and then they start getting responses from the Internal Revenue Service or the State Department of Revenue or the California Franchise Board is wonderful about sending love letters about a year after somebody has not done quite what they should have done.
Oh, nice.
So it varies. And I encourage people, if they feel comfortable, to try it. But it's always good to get a second opinion.
Sure, absolutely. And you're there to pick up the pieces, maybe?
I'm there to help them, and I'll either acknowledge you got it right, and that's super, or if you had done this instead of what you did, you might have gotten more of a refund, or you wouldn't be showing me this letter from the Internal Revenue Service saying, we'd like to see you.
That's certainly not something that would be enjoyable.
Right.
So you're really sitting down with people to help them really put them in the driver's seat to where they're in a better position with the IRS,
Absolutely.
basically, and really take the sweats off of them, you know?
Yeah, we don't want people concerned. There's enough to be worried about in this world without taxes being one of the issues.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of people that come in that are in that position? They're just like, they're beside themselves, all
Many.
nervous. Yeah.
And first thing we do is we calm them down. And,
With your wonderful sense of humor.
thank you. and we walk them through what is appropriate and what is right, and help them get a better resolution than they would on their own.
So we're winding down, and I thank you for all this fabulous information.
It's been my pleasure.
I know
Thank you.
we're gonna have you back, but in the last few minutes, well, we've got about 10 minutes or thereabouts
Okay.
in TV land. What can we impart today? A few little do's and don'ts for our viewers that are out there, whether it be in this crazy month that we're going through, or moving forward into the rest of this year, next year, some quick little snippets of information in addition to what we've already shared.
I would focus on sitting down by yourself or with spouse, significant other, partner, and talking about what's important to you as an individual or as a couple or as a family, and talk about what goals do we have, what resources do we have, what resources do we need, and working toward a plan to achieve those. I find that people's lives are much more fulfilled when they're accomplishing what's important to them than when they're not.
And that, I think, is living from the heart and what is really on their heart and what they want to do with their lives. And it doesn't matter. It can happen at any time.
That's correct.
Right?
And life goes on, and people can succeed. People will have failures along the way. Life is a ever-winding road.
Isn't it, though?
And it's important to not get stuck with things that go wrong when they can be righted and people can benefit from the experience and by planning and thinking and moving forward.
And that is a wonderful way to wind down our show today, because there's a lot of people out there today that is thinking, the situation is hopeless. Right.
But it's not.
it's not hopeless. And I know that we do have about 8 minutes or so, but that's why I wanted to really focus in this last few minutes for people to feel no matter what your situation is, if you have a professional that you can sit down, David is going to ask you what is important to you, to your family. And you know, I've never heard any accountant or tax advisor say anything like that to us. Well, this is what you got to do, and this is what, no, you can't deduct that, nah, 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 nah. And there is no...
That takes the person out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's important to be living, feeling, thinking along the lines that I promote for people to benefit as much as possible
Yeah.
from my knowledge and their ability to learn.
I get this feeling that you have such a laser beam focus with every single client that you sit down with, everyone consistently.
I try to be that way. I have several thousand clients, and we do the best we can with each and every one.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Well, I know we're going to see you tomorrow at 11
I'm looking
o'clock.
forward to that.
Anything else in this last few moments that you want to share beside, and that is really powerful, is for people to, you know, sit and think about what is it that they want. And there's a whole lot of people out there probably beginning to think about, like, thinking about things that they haven't really thought of before until we're kind of stuck at home. The businesses are doing this, they're going that way, and maybe some people are thinking about making changes in their livelihood, in their business, in their business plan.
An example that I would give you is most people will visit with their physicians, their doctors, their dentists, other medical professionals if they are not well. The same, I believe, should apply to people's financial circumstances. Not everybody has the answers. There are numbers of people out there who are my colleagues, who I have worked with, who I may not even know, but they're in the like profession, and they're there because they're interested in helping people achieve as much as they can with what they have. And taxes is only one part of the equation.
You're so right.
Insurance is important, investments are important, financial planning for retirement and estate planning is important, college planning is important, and all of it actually does tie together.
It does.
It's a matter of knowing how to put the pieces together. Life is a jigsaw puzzle.
I love that. You're so right. But when you have somebody with your talents, your treasures, all these years of experience, I mean, we're talking 50 years experience, of which 25 was spent with the IRS. So I would guess that if you're thinking about making a change with your accountant, your tax advisor, it's okay. Come in and talk with David and just sit down and see how he can help you. I have a feeling he can help everyone in a way that he cares about, and to give you the facts. Sit down, go over your own planning, if you will, if you're thinking of making some changes. He's a certified financial planner, going over your accounts, your business accounts and all, and just think about, okay, am I on track here? It's interesting because talking to different accountants, different tax advisors, while of course we have laws that we have to follow, but there's a different element with you that I noticed, as I said, I have not seen before. And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
And that's why you've been successful.
And thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
I think the primary reason I've been successful is because I care.
That's a big deal. And that's what people are looking for. That's why I love family-owned businesses. And since I've been doing interviews with the shows with WeBeam TV, I've met more fabulous, unbelievable family-owned businesses. And I care about them too. So we're on the same page.
Yes,
we
we
definitely
are.
are.
Yes, we are.
Well, I have to say, this has been a very knowledgeable hour of different things that has gotten my brain thinking. So it was great that we did this little chat prior to our appointment with you, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
So my head will be spinning this evening. Now, before we close the show, and we still have a little bit of time, what do you send? You send out like a pre-packet before your clients come in?
For the people who ask for it, yes.
Okay.
I'm always concerned that people will get bogged down with paperwork rather than just bring in the information that we need to review. So I always ask, I don't assume. And when we sit down, it's a process.
Okay.
It is not an event.
No,
If they don't have everything together, fine. Here's what we have. Here's what you need to get. And between us, it's a team effort to maximize their potential and their financial well-being.
Very good. So when I come in tomorrow, I'm going to bring you what I have, but you're sending me through email a packet because I did ask for it.
Yes.
And that way, so that I can come as prepared as we can.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And what I love about this is that your laid back attitude towards that. It's not a big deal. You don't have to be all nervous because you don't have every single thing that you need to have your tax prepared, and we'll get it to you.
Right.
So it's that simple. I mean, it makes sense to me.
I'm glad it does.
Yeah. How do you like coming on the show today?
It was great.
Yeah, right up here. And this was your old stomping grounds at one time, wasn't it? Up here in Pasco County.
It has been, yep.
All right.
I've been in Hernando, Pasco, and Pinellas over the last 20 years.
That's why you kind of knew the neighborhood.
I did.
Well, I have to say thank you very much, David. And if you're looking to make a change, maybe you're not even looking to make a change, but you'd like to sit down for a complimentary chat with David, I think he's going to make you feel really good and answer some questions for you, and then determine at that time if you are looking to have many happy returns. I definitely recommend going to see David, and you can check back with me because we're going to see you tomorrow at 11.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, because I know tax season is coming around the corner, even though it has been extended due to what's going on in the world. But there's nothing like being prepared. So give David a call now and see how it could be rewarding for your future. I'm going to do it. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. See you soon.
Thank you all.